Hello and welcome to Educator STEM. I'm Kate, the founder of Educator STEM, and today I'm going to talk about something that is very pertinent and it is definitely a hot button topic, so stick with me. I am going to be talking about diversity, equity and inclusion policies and how they are currently being affected in both higher education and for research. So let's talk DEIA, because the A also is for accessibility. So I don't know about you, but if I'm walking into a building and it has an automatic door, fabulous, I don't need to open it. Except those were put in to help people with wheelchairs or other accessibility issues to help them move around. I don't know about you, but I'm wearing glasses right now. And if you go outside, maybe some sunglasses. Those were designed for people with issues with their eyes. So again, a disability? How about subtitles if you're watching films or something on Netflix and you can't really tell what the person is saying because they have an accent or they're speaking too softly? Those subtitles are very helpful, except those are put in for someone with hearing loss. And how about if you are on maternity or disability leave and you'd like to know that when you come back, your job is still there for you? Again, that was a DEI initiative. So there are some DEI things that most people will embrace. I mean, who doesn't want to be without their glasses? Who wants to open a door? But DEIA seems to have got a bad rep, and it's somehow thought that it is allowing people who haven't earned a job or a place in a school the right to have that job over someone who is better than them, but because they have their X ethnicity, sex, or they have a disability or something, then yeah, sure, come right on in. But that's not the way it works. DEIA is supposed to help us understand that everyone has biases. And so we need to take that into account when we do things, because if you bring those biases unchecked into a workplace, then you can make bad decisions. So diversity could mean that you don't hire 90% of the same people from the same university. Equity could be that you're giving people with less influence or power a chance to be heard. Inclusion is about listening to people with less influence or power and making them a part of the decision process. At no point in that did I talk about ethnicity or sex or anything else. So it's an attempt to reduce or eliminate groupthink and letting the most dominant or the most powerful person in the room run meetings and make decisions. Because if you're the most important and you're like, I like that person because they look like me, then you might be not giving the opportunity to someone who is better potentially at the job because they don't look like you. And that's the whole idea, is to make sure that there is an even playing field and that everybody has equal opportunities to school and job opportunities. And so really any attack on DEI is never going to be a good thing. You're not going to be on the right side of history for saying that DEIA isn't worthwhile or a good thing, because we have had this for more than 50 years of civil rights, and now they are attempting to overturn them, and that is just going to have a ripple effect. So to put this into context, in 2023 the Supreme Court ruled that you couldn't use race when it came to college admissions policies. So for many years there had been encouragement to make sure that those people who were not seen a lot in science, they were underrepresented were given the opportunities to come through. So that would be individuals who might be from a poorer background, they could be from a rural area, it could be ethnicity, but it could be many other things. And it's just that they have the same opportunity to come and do science and research as the individuals who are more overrepresented in the scientific or STEM population. And really it's meant to kind of ensure that the people who want to be in science, regardless of what they look like, or whether they have a disability or something else, get the opportunity to do so. So part of the executive order designates that any institution that receives federal financial aid is a subcontractor, and as a subcontractor, colleges' employment, procurement, and contracting practices shall not consider race, colour, sex, sexual preference, religion, or national origin in ways that violate the nation's civil rights laws. Additionally, the Education Department must pick up to 9 colleges that have endowments worth more than $1 billion with a B to investigate as part of an effort to deter DEI programs or principles. So there are a few universities that have that much money in endowments, and so they are going to be on this potential list, and it kind of implies that if they do DEI initiatives that they could have their federal funding reduced or removed. They've also, more recently, the Education Department's Office for Civil Rights has declared all race-conscious student programming, resources, and financial aid illegal, and threatened to investigate and rescind federal funding for any institution that does not comply within within 14 days. So this is frankly worrying, because for a long time we have been pushing to make sure that it's more diverse, more equitable, more inclusive, more accessible, so that those individuals who want to come into STEM and other things have the opportunity to do so. And now it looks as if you have programs to help them come in, so whether that's Summer Research Academy, or whether it's certain funding for a graduate student, a postdoc, or something else, that would potentially put you on this list where you could potentially lose your funding. So obviously lots of universities and colleges are wondering what on earth they're going to do. What are they going to do? And so I know that, and I'm not picking on you, but I'm going to mention you, University of Michigan has already decided that they're going to repeal the use of diversity statements when in the hiring process. So usually when you go for a professor level job, you have to write a CV and a statement of teaching philosophy and a diversity statement amongst other documents. And so they're dropping the requirement for the diversity statement, and they're also adopting a policy of institutional neutrality, but they haven't cut jobs or staff for DEI programs yet. So I will just quote a scientist that I definitely admire, Dr. Harmit Malik. And so he says, as an organization, you value what you honor, and you honor what you value. And I would just say that if these institutions are capitulating and doing things, because this isn't even law yet, this is a suggestion, like the executive order is like, this is what I want to happen, but it's not been implemented into law. So they don't have to act on this if they don't want to until it becomes necessary. So I would just caution that your potential incoming students are watching what you're doing. And if they think that you're not being inclusive and supportive of everyone, then you might actually have a smaller student body, which will then impact your bottom line. So yes, you may want to be very cautious about how you react to these things. But I also think it might affect how many students you get in the future, because they do know, they do remember, and they do their research before they spend an awful lot of money coming to you to get a degree. So just bear that in mind. So we just have to hope that institutions can figure out a way of potentially remaining strong, because we need these DEIA programs to make sure that everyone has the opportunity. And so this has also impacted websites and mission statements and other things. So to give you an example, the National Institutes of Health have taken down pages for its Sexual and Gender Minority Research Office, the NIH Sexual and Gender Minority Health Scientific Research Group, as well as the Office of Research on Women's Health, Sex and Gender. So those are key web pages. They've just disappeared. I mean, the research is still there, but you wouldn't necessarily know it. The FDA has removed pages which provide guidance to medical researchers on conducting medical trials with representative numbers of men and women and various ethnicities and minorities, because you may not know, but diseases and health issues can present themselves in a completely different way depending on your sex and your ethnicity. So we need to make sure that we research things with a very large population, so you know, what does the disease present like, and then what is the most effective way for treating it, because up until the early 1990s, most research was done in men. And I don't know about you, but my body's going to react very differently to how drugs affect it than they are to my husband. So I would hope that research has been done on females and that they know the appropriate doses and maybe even a completely different drug that is going to work on me rather than him. And also that if I'm having various symptoms in a male, that might demonstrate a completely different issue versus, I'm having a heart attack or whatever. So I think it's vitally important that research is done very broadly. All of the people who are potentially going to need the interventions need to be included in the research. It just makes common sense to me. So that is automatically very concerning. And you could say that they're trying to affect the history of various things by tweaking or removing websites. So just to give you an example, a number of places have removed pages about diversity or famous women. So to give you an example, there is a very famous pioneering female astronomer called Vera Rubin, and she's so famous that she actually has an observatory named after her. And now, if you go to her page, it's been tweaked, and there was a passage that was always there, and this is no longer on the website. And it says, "Science is still a male-dominated field, but Rubin Observatory is working to increase participation from women and other people who have historically been excluded from science. Rubin Observatory welcomes everyone who wants to contribute to science and take steps to lower or eliminate barriers that exclude those with less privilege." So Vera Rubin would probably be very, very unhappy, because she was very supportive of women and underrepresented minorities in science. That was one of her things, that she wanted to encourage people to come through. So to have those things removed from the public record is just heartbreaking. So hopefully we can ensure that history is retained, and eventually everything that is being completely altered at the moment can be changed back, because that is one of the key things that she fought for. And it's just a real shame that her own observatory's website has been changed. Now, one of the things that is absolutely breaking my heart is that training grants that have supported historically excluded groups have been stopped. So I used to run a summer academy, and I used to be an associate dean at a graduate school, and I had some of these grants to encourage individuals to come through and consider a scientific career. So it's just heartbreaking. So for a graduate student, the grant is called a T32, and so Bridges to the Doctorate, GRISE, have stopped, and Mark T34, which is for undergraduate students, has been stopped. An awful lot of scientists that I know who are minorities have gone through either of these programs or both. So it's just a crying shame that they have ended. And even worse, there was something called the NIH Science Education Partnership Award, the SEPA Award, which was for K through 12 students to fund innovative STEM educational projects, and also to kind of encourage youngsters, because, K, that's kindergarten, all the way through, to encourage them to consider a scientific career. And now that program's ended. I mean, why? It's utterly heartbreaking. So they're taking money away, which would assist people who are not necessarily represented in science. So, there are white females in science. There are white males. There's everyone, but it just depends how many people you see. So, at my old institution, I would be encouraging minority students to come, knowing that there might not be someone in the professor level who looked like them. And through discussion, they felt isolated because they didn't have a mentor that they could look up to who resembled them. And so this pipeline is so important, because we're just getting to the point where people who have been encouraged are now at those levels. And so the students coming through can look up, and they can have the mentors that are so vital, and encourage, if you see someone who looks like you in a particular role, you're like, oh, I could do that. I could definitely do that. And it helps. It just helps. So it's heartbreaking. So remember, just by giving equal rights for others doesn't mean that you have fewer rights. It's not a piece of pie. You have your rights, they have their rights. Everyone can come and do the jobs that they want to do. Everyone can come and learn. Again, those list of things at the beginning that are DEIA things, which you wouldn't even consider are DEIA things, right? The opening doors, glasses, subtitles. Why is that controversial? It's not. It's now accepted. So let's just accept everything else. Let's just keep it going. And I saw someone on LinkedIn, and I reposted it, and I just think it was so marvelous. They said DEI, dedicated, educated, and innovative. So if we need to rebrand DEI, then maybe let's think of those terms, because she was fantastic. And we can all be successful. And the more diverse the group, the bigger the success. That is just proven. So let's stop harming the science and research, career pathway, because people are watching. The people who are considering becoming scientists or engineers or whatever are currently watching what is happening. And they're like, oh my gosh, this does not look like a stable career. They've just seen a whole bunch of people get fired. Like, I don't want to do that. So we might be putting off an entire generation of scientists who could have gone on to do amazing scientific research and cure diseases. So let's not do that. Let's keep science inclusive and welcoming to all. And hopefully we can get these funding mechanisms back. And let's just ensure that the students who should be at the university are, regardless of what they look like and what their DEIA status is. But universities, institutions, step up. Let's do this. We can do this. I believe in you. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have learned something. So please share the video with other people who may not know that this is happening or may not understand the importance of this. And I hopefully will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.